So I'm having a little bit of a problem with my encoder. And if you notice, I got a little bit of a delay here. It delays and then it catches up. So I think we're caught up right now. So it's been giving me some problems. You guys just do me a favor and just keep me posted. If it looks like my lips are going, but my words are doing something different, just let me know. But I'm going to do my best, keep my eye on it. Look, yeah, there it is. It's a little off again. And now it's back, a little normal. So I'm going to do the best that I can. Watching the screen, making sure it's not too bad. But I need you guys to keep me posted. And so we're going to get started here in a moment. And I got some amazing stuff I want to share with you guys. Good, no issues. Thank you, Justin. Good. So I'm going to head off in a moment here with the 5 principles of biblical masculinity, a little talk that I put together that I wanted to share with you guys. And then at the end, I have something really amazing I want to share with you. So why don't we get started? I'm like nervous. I keep looking at this thing to see if it's messed up. Anyway, let's go. So today we're going to talk about the 5 principles of biblical masculinity. And I think this is an important topic today because there's really no standard for what it means to be a man. And because of the relative affluence that we've experienced over the past 100 years, the need for really strong alpha males seems to have vanished. With big government taking the lead on providing and protecting for women and for society, most men have grown soft and basically lead lives of comfort or quiet desperation, usually seeking pleasure, novelty, and entertainment, or just being plain old lazy. And of course, it has a lot to do with feeling as if we don't need to step up. There's no reason to step up. And so we play below our potential. Well, eventually this catches up with you, and then men will typically do one of 2 things. They'll either take the low road and become depressed and suicidal, and we know this is true because of the tremendous amount of depression and suicide that has unfolded in our culture in the last several decades. So a man will typically either go low or do what Robert Bly in his amazing book, Iron John, calls become a high flyer, or take the high flying road, which basically means worshiping work, chasing women, chasing money, living fast and furious until they burn out, right? And so this is the excited path. This is the I'm going to be a superstar, a rock star path. So it's either low road or high road, the inflated, grandiose road. Neither of these paths are fulfilling nor sustainable. So today I'm going to propose a different way, the way of the men of old, the way of our ancestors, the way of biblical masculinity. And at the end of this talk, I have a new project I'd like to share with you, and I think you'll find it interesting. So stick around until the end. So the very first of the 5 principles that we're going to be talking about here is uniformity with God's will. One of the biggest questions that I get from young men is, Elliot, what do I do in my life? What path do I take? What is my purpose here? And it seems like such an existential question only because we have so much confusion, so many opportunities, and so many distractions in our lives. The fact is that what you're meant to do is usually very obvious. I like to use the word revelation, not in the way that it's used in the Bible, but in a way that is very practical for us. God is constantly revealing to you his will for your life based on what's happening right in front of you. It's so crazy how many times the very job we really need and the person that we really need to be with, or the opportunity that's just the perfect one for us, we're so busy looking outside or above and beyond it that we don't catch it. 9 times out of 10, the very thing that you are supposed to do that is the best thing for you. It might not be the best thing for your neighbor, might not be the best thing for your friends, Other people might not think it's the best thing for you. And damn sure most of our egos want to find something far more grandiose than what's sitting right in our own backyard. But 9 times out of 10, your path is very obvious because it's revealed to you in the circumstances of your life. You are born a certain gender, a certain race, in a certain country at a certain time because those all provide the circumstances from which you are going to thrive best. It's not a mistake that you have the parents that you have. It's not a mistake that you live in the country that you have. It's not even a mistake that you have either the lack or abundance of resources. All of those things are exactly as they should be for what? For the salvation of your soul, the edification of your soul. You're becoming the strongest version of yourself, which is a very, very subjective thing, meaning that you could see someone else over there who is really living their best life. But their path, based on their circumstances, based on the gifts that they've been even given, are totally different. But you're so busy looking over there or daydreaming or scrolling through Instagram and wanting something that you don't have that you miss it. You miss it. There's a great story that that Earl Nightingale tells in his book, Lead the Field. And you could look it up. It's probably on YouTube. It's very old. It's called Acres of Diamonds. Acres of Diamonds. And so there's a story about this African farmer, so it goes, who is living on a plot of land, and he's not really making much money with his land. The farm is not really producing, but he's been hearing about these people who in a foreign land, maybe another country, several miles away, are buying these plots of lands and finding diamonds, right? In Africa, right? They can find diamonds. And so he hears about this. He's like, wow, really? So he's got he's got 40 acres. And he's like, well, I'm going to sell this land because I'm hearing about all of the acres of diamonds that are over there. And so he sells his land and he goes off. Another man buys his land, a humble man who's really not looking for much but to cultivate the land. But one day, several years after he's on his land, a friend comes over and he's kicking some rocks over by the river, and he picks one up and he says to his friend, hey, buddy, do you know what this is? And his friend looks at it. He's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just some kind of ugly black rock that's just hanging around. I have a bunch of them all over the place. I don't know how to get rid of them. And his friend is like mind blown. He's like, no, bro, these are diamonds in the rough. These are worth millions of dollars. And so the moral of the story is that the guy that had the first plot of land was so busy daydreaming and thinking about what other people had that he didn't realize that he was on his own acres of diamonds. The very thing that you have, the very thing that you are, the very circumstances that you in are right now is your acres of diamonds. That's uniformity with God's will, as opposed to uniformity with my will. And my will is corrupted. Your will is corrupted. Our wills are corrupted. Our wills are corrupted by all kinds of advertising, all kinds of comparing, contrasting, listening to other people, the news, social media. The easiest way to understand God's will for you in your life is to stop and look at what you've got. Stop and look at where you are. Your feet are standing on acres of diamonds. Observe what is being revealed to you rather than what you want. Principle number 1. Principle number 2, be mission focused. Be mission focused. Once you know what God's will is for you because you are in complete submission to it, and this is key. You cannot be mission focused if you're not submitted to something. I know that's a word that's very hard for a lot of us to digest. Submission, Elliot. I will submit to nothing and nobody. But when you do not submit to God's will for yourself, you're beating your head against the rock trying to figure out what you're supposed to do, and there's no mission for you. You ever hear this saying that you could climb to the top of the ladder? I climbed to the top of the ladder only to find out that my ladder was against the wrong wall because you didn't obey the very first requirement in being mission focused. So here's how we're going to take a look at what it means to be mission focused and how to be mission focused. We are going to dissect the passion of Christ. So if you're familiar with the story of Christ going to his death, Christ, Christians believe, is the God-man. Essentially, God poured himself out and became the perfect man as an example and savior for humankind. Whether you believe it or not, there's a tremendous amount of value to be understood and gleaned from Christ's life, particularly his passion. Think about uniformity with God's will and being mission focused and what Christ did when he died on the cross. There are 5 stages to Christ's passion. The very first is when he is in the Garden of Gethsemane, the night before he goes to his death. And he's kneeling down in the garden and he's praying to God. And his prayer, as perfect as he is, sounds something like this. Oh God, I know what's about to happen. And if it really be of your will, then take it away from me. But if not, let thy will be done. That is a tremendous submission to that which ultimately saves mankind from its damnation in the example of Christ. He knows he's about to be whooped up and nailed to a cross because God knows everything. But even still, that human part of him resists just slightly, but ultimately what? Submits. The second stage in Christ's passion is his scourging at the pillar. And if you ever get to watch the movie Passion of Christ, you know how brutal that was, with the Roman guards are just whooping on his back with these, they call them scourges, right? They would have like whips, and they would put like rocks and shells on the end of it so it would tear your skin up. Well, each one of these stages of the passion have a virtue associated with it. The very first is submission. But when Christ is at the pillar being scourged, he's demonstrating and he is bringing forth the virtue of purity. Purity. To be mission focused is to be submitted, but also to be purged of all impurities. Because how many times do you have a mission in your life? I say you guys, but I even talk about myself in all of this. The only reason why I know any of this stuff is because I'm a screwed up dude too. So I've had to go through all this stuff. How many times have you gone about a mission or you had a vision or you had something that you want to go about, but that weakness within you holds you back? I have so many little weaknesses that hold me back. For example, there's new projects that I want to unfold, but as I'm getting older, I'm not as courageous as I used to be, right? Not to say that I can't practice it, but I haven't had to. And so I get stuck in this paralysis of analysis that is a byproduct of fear. If you're going to be mission focused and you submit to the mission that's unfolded for you, you got to let go of all unresourceful fears and hang-ups. Purity. That's what is represented by Christ being whooped, scourged on the pillar, being purified. I mean, I could only imagine to be in that instant, to be purely submitted and purified physically. What a challenge. We're not asked to be purified that way. Christ did that for us. We're simply asked to experience the pain of purifying our inner beta, our weaknesses, right? Our hang-ups, our fears. Step number 3 is when they put the crown of thorns on Christ's head and they say that represents moral courage. Moral courage. Think about all of the virtue and your values that are moral virtues and values. If you're going to be mission focused, there are certain things that you're going to do and you're not going to do. There's certain things you're willing to do and you're not willing to do, right? Say you're mission focused to make $1 million. Well, I'm not going to do it by robbing people. Let's say you're mission focused to sell a particular product, but you know that you'll be going against your values if you do, right? Oh man, I could make $1 million on OnlyFans, right? For example, there's no moral courage for someone who sells their body on OnlyFans, right? There's pure desperation and narcissism, right? There's no moral courage to say, I'm going to take my clothes off and that's how I'm going to make money, right? So the whole thing with regard to moral courage is your willingness to do the right thing when you're on your mission. That's being mission focused. That's being clear on your mission and being focused. Number 4 is when Christ carries his cross. He even says, if you don't pick up your cross and follow me, you're not worthy of me. What is Christ saying? He's saying, be patient in your pain. Being mission focused means, damn, this is a heavy thing to carry. This is a heavy cross to carry. This is painful at times. I don't want to do this. I'm falling down. If you watch the movie Passion of Christ, you watch how many times he fell down. He not only fell down and was crushed beneath the weight of that cross, but in his patience, he also, and in his submission and purity and courage, he accepts help. I think the guy's name was Simon that comes and helps him. He accepts help. Sometimes your patience means that I need to be patient with other people so that they can help me bear this cross. And then finally, the last of the aspects of being a mission-focused man based on biblical masculinity is final perseverance. Christ dies for his mission on the cross. That is essentially dying to your ego, or dying to your hangups, dying to your weaknesses, dying to a version of yourself that's no longer resourceful for that which you're becoming in life. You got to die. That's what Christ means when he says you got to be born again. If you're going to be born again, what does that mean? To be born again means you got to die. The old man has to die and the new man has to rise. You got to die. So you got to be willing to die on. You ever hear somebody say this? I'm going to die on this hill. I die on this hill. That's what it means to die on that hill. It means till the cows come home, I'm on this mission. It doesn't matter. And think about how rare that is today. You know, one of the things I'd like to talk about here in a moment, actually the next one is going to be talking about women in marriage. Part of the reason, there's a lot of reasons why marriage doesn't work today, but a big part of it is a lack of virtue. And that means a lack of a willingness to sacrifice oneself for the greater good. Marriage and family is not because we're so narcissistic in our day and age. It's like, oh, what's in it for me? There's nothing in it for me. Not realizing that there's a bigger picture. Christ recognized the bigger picture of his sacrifice on that cross. What's the bigger picture of the sacrifice for your mission that you know you're on because you're in uniformity with God's will? Moving on. Well, know your standards with women. So now we're talking a little bit about women in this regard. So the first two is talking about, the first one is about God. The second one is about you. The third one is about other. And what is more essential to other than our complete counterparts, women? And there's so many examples of where men didn't stand by their standards with regard to women in the Bible. In fact, our first parents, Adam and Eve, are a perfect example of women wanting to overpower, overrule, step over the authority of a man, and a man submitting to his effeminate side, being weak and putting the puss on a pedestal and following his wife. Knowing your standards for women is about, first, uniformity with God's will. Second, being mission focused, and then bringing a woman into your life that would help serve that mission. Evidence of this actually happening really well. There's a couple stories. Of course, Mary is the most perfect story with regard to a woman who's in uniformity with God's will and is on mission, right? Christ's mother, right? She's like a 15-year-old girl, and out of nowhere, an angel comes to her and is like, hey, you're going to have this baby, and they're going to call him the Most High, and your heart is going to be pierced as a result. And she's like, whoa, wait, what? But what does she do? She completely submits. So there's a lot of examples. There's a handful of examples. Let me put it this way. A handful of examples of women in the Bible, Mary being number one, that submit to this plan that I'm laying out for you. But there's a really good story of Isaac and Rebekah in the Old Testament, where Abraham has his one son that is his prized son. He has another son who's his illegitimate son, but his prized son, his promised son, Isaac. Make of it what you will. His promised son, Isaac, is growing up to be a fine young man. He owns property. He's an entrepreneur. He's a leader. He's cultivating the land. He's got cattle, right? All the things that a man back in the day would make him a G. He's an alpha male back in the day, right? All these things, but he doesn't have a woman. And his mom and dad, they're a little worried, right? Because he's just so busy doing the Lord's work that he doesn't have a wife. So Abraham sends his servant to go find him a wife, Rebecca. And there's it's explained very beautifully in this book on marriage and family. Let's see, on marriage and family by St. John Chrysostom. I'm not going to read it, but he does a great job of breaking down that story in terms of what the servant does when he gets into the town where he's going to find a woman for Isaac, because Abraham sends him out. And he says, dude, swear to me that you're going to find the right kind of woman for my son. And of course, they had an understanding of what that meant. Rebecca represented so many divine qualities in a woman that if you just read this story, you will know exactly what to look for in a wife. She was humble. She was hardworking. She was hospitable. There's a part of the story is that the servant says to God before he walks in, he says, okay, I'm going to walk into this city and make it such that the first woman that speaks to me is going to be the one. Something like that. He's like, God, he prays to God and he says, God, just show me the girl. I'm not going to go pick her out. You show me the one. And he walks in there and he's got his camels or whatever that he's riding on back in the day. He's got his camels or his horses and they're thirsty. And so he walks over to the well and there's a young lady there picking out water for her family. Number one, first of all, for her to be there by herself back in the day like that as a woman getting water for her family must mean that she's a trustworthy woman. Because back in the day, they didn't trust women like that. I don't know why. I mean, maybe there's good reason. But there's a lot to be said for it, just by mere virtue of her there working also. It shows she was industrious. She's working for her family. She's doing chores. But not only that, when the servant shows up, she offers to help him. She offers to help him. And so she starts bucketing out water for his camels. That must have been hard to do. You got to, like, with a well, roll up that rope with the big bucket. She's hardworking. She's hospitable. Also, she honored her family. She honored her family because when the servant was like, hey, my Lord is a wealthy man. And his son needs a wife, and I want to take you back to meet him. She's not like these girls today that jump at any opportunity to get a sugar daddy. She's like, that sounds like a nice deal, right? Like, of course, she would love to get out of this, podunk town that she's in, bucketing water. But she's like, I don't know. You got to come talk to my father. And she brings him to her. So there's a whole lot of things that are associated with standards for a woman that you can learn from these biblical stories. There's so much value. There's so much there's so much wisdom there. But I'm going to read to you just a few things here that I have that I've written down. So standards for women, evidence of a relationship with God, right? Evidence of a relationship with God. Carrying out their mission for God, right? She should have her own mission as you do, right? She should know what she wants out of life as well. Does she read scripture? Does she pray? Does she meditate? Is she in service, right? Or is she all selfish, right? These are all signs of evidence with a relationship with God. If you want a relationship to work, I'm telling you right now, these secular relationships don't work. And I just know because I'm watching y'all. I was just graced by God that I was always a religious guy. And I had a wife that submitted to my religiosity and has always followed me into religion. And so we've always had a godly relationship. Having God as a focal point in your relationship causes it to be that much stronger. Is she a godly woman, right? Is there evidence that she has a relationship with God? These are all things that you want to look for with regard to does this woman meet your standards? Evidence of well-ordered earthly relationships. Just like Rebecca, right? Rebecca, when she was approached by this man, being courted by this man, the first thing she said was, let me go tell my parents. Let me go talk to my father. You have to meet my family first. Evidence of a well-ordered earthly relationship with their family is something that I think is good to have for standards with regard to women. I just can't imagine trying to be in a relationship with a woman that does not love and respect her father. A woman that does not respect the man that has brought her into this world, right, in partnership with her mother, a man that has brought her into this world and sacrificed his life through work and whatnot in order to provide for her. If she don't have respect for him, do you think she gonna have respect for you? Standards with regard to women is listening to their language. Is she talking poorly about her father? Even if her father's not a great man, none of us have perfect parents, but her father tried his best, and she acknowledges that and affords him even the slightest respect due to his word. That is a good woman. I'm not bragging, because it is only by the grace of God that I'm in the situation I am with my wife, and it's been thus all these years. But I remember back in high school when her father wasn't really a strong alpha male father. He wasn't there all the time creating boundaries for her. But he made very little small boundaries that he basically didn't enforce. But Colleen always abided by them. He said, be home by midnight. She didn't think twice. She never pushed that boundary. She never asked any questions. She never disrespected her father, even though he didn't command respect. I can only imagine that that's a part of the reason why she makes a good wife. And like I said before, it's not because I'm so smart. It's by the grace of God. So when I pull these things out to you guys, it's only in retrospect that I can look back and say, oh man, this is why my relationship works. She should have evidence of cultivated femininity. This is hard today. Most women do not show evidence of femininity. Just because she's showing you side boob, just because she got a big booty, just because she looks pretty through the Instagram filters, does not make her feminine woman. Femininity is less about the way a woman looks, although that's important. Is less about the way she looks, her aesthetics, because of course women make up the way they look anyway. Women fake themselves up with all the makeup anyway. I made this joke the other day with somebody. I said, you know how you know that men are better looking than women? Because women have to make themselves up. Men don't wear no makeup. Why women got to put on makeup? So if you're focused on the way a woman looks, you're focused on Maybelline. You're focused on shadows. You're focused on Fugazi. If you're focused on the way a woman looks. Cultivated femininity. Here, I'm going to read again from this. Evidence of chastity in attitude, purity and reverence in conduct. Purity and reverence in conduct. Think about that. Purity, not swearing, cursing all the time with a bunch of freaking tattoos and piercings all over her, right? Reverence in conduct, saying please, saying thank you. People don't have manners these days. Don't deal with these women that don't have basic manners. If you don't have basic manners, get your manners right and deal with women that got basic manners. What else? Inner beauty through a gentle and quiet spirit. This is all from the Bible, by the way. That's 1 Peter's 2:3-2. This is all from the Bible. I'm not going to quote every single Bible verse here, but I'm just going to keep reading them. Inner beauty through a gentle and quiet spirit, not a slanderer or slave to drink. Not a slanderer. Think about how these women just talk junk behind people's back. If you're dealing with a woman and she's talking bad about her friends behind her back or whatnot, guarantee she's going to talk about you behind her back, behind your back. Slave to drink. Don't deal with women that get drunk. That's a surefire sign that she's an unstable woman. Teaches what is good, self-controlled, chaste, good manager of the household, kind and submissive. She's trustworthy, does him good and not harm all the days of her life. Proverbs 31:12. Works with her hands at various tasks. Proverbs 31:13. Brings and provides food and delegates tasks to servants and children. Proverbs 31:14. Provides for the poor. Wisdom and kindness come from her tongue. Right? These women have other things on their tongue, like piercings and stuff. Wisdom and kindness come from her tongue. That's one thing my wife she's always speaking kindness. Is not idle in her household, not idle in her household. And you guys know that I'm a trad, right? I have these traditional values. And one of the things I like to say, I truly believe that it is most resourceful and well ordered for a woman to be a stay-at-home mom. You need somebody at home, but it's very important that she's not idle at home. If you got a woman that is all about being quote unquote trad, and she's going to stay at home with the kids and stuff, but the house is a mess, or she look like she's bored, or she spent a lot of time watching TV and Netflix series, that's an idle woman. That's an idle woman. You don't want an idle woman. You want a woman that's industrious, hard working, that's doing stuff. Why? Because that's what complements you as a man who's on your mission. You don't want a doll that stays at home just looking pretty but is useless. That's one of my dad's favorite lines. Don't marry a useless woman. So that's about knowing your standards for women. That's number 3. Number 4, know your boundaries in relationships. And so this is about having frame as a man. And it's one of the most important things, because if you're going to establish yourself as a leader in a relationship, you have to hold the frame first and then bring a woman into your life. I'm not saying that's the only way they can work, but in this day and age, for the most part, that's the way it's going to happen. I am, once again, an outlier in this regard, that I married when I had nothing. I had no frame per se, meaning I didn't have any resources, but I had frame in my attitude. And I'll tell you what I mean in a moment. I was a 23-year-old kid. I got married at 23. I didn't know any better. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm impulsive. It all worked out. And that's why I have all this to share with you guys, because I learned this stuff in retrospect. I look back and I'm like, man, if I had to reverse engineer why my relationship works and most people's relationship don't work, these are some of the things. Establishing boundaries in your relationship. What does that mean? That means, hey, woman, I need you to understand that God comes first in my life. Mission in submission to God's will for me comes second. And you and our relationship and what we're building together is third. And it doesn't diminish that as a value. In fact, by having that be third, you elevate it. If you put your woman first and you put your relationship first, you denigrate it. You elevate your relationship by putting God first, putting your mission second, and putting your relationship under the umbrella, under the mantle, under the protection of God and your mission. You have to establish that boundary very early on in your relationship, because if you don't, first of all, she's going to expect you to put her on a pedestal, and you, especially if you're fornicating, especially if you're having sex, especially if she's your drug dealer and you're getting hits from this chick, you're going to want to put her first. Ooh, I don't want to lose those goods. I don't want to lose that good feeling. I don't want to lose my easy nut busting with this chick. That's what happens when you don't value God over yourself. Because if you here's another thing too that a lot of red pillars say that's wrong. Put yourself first. If you put yourself first instead of God first, your relationship's going to fail also, because when you make yourself your own God, a number of things happens. Number one, you're held to no standard. When you make yourself the God of your life, you're held to absolutely no standard. So there's no boundaries for you, thus no boundaries in your relationship. To submit to the will of the Lord, to be a godly man, and by putting God as your head, you now not only establish boundaries and direction and mission for your life and guidance and grace from above, but also you then bring that authority, you carry that authority forward through the natural law into your relationship with your woman. Women want to respect men. They want to look up to men. You know how you know, no matter what women tell you, you know how you know women want to look up to a man? They prefer taller guys. There's not arbitrary that women prefer taller men. Women don't want men that are shorter than them. Women don't want a man that they look down at. But a man that is not looking up is not worthy to look up to. God, mission, women. Those are the first most important boundaries that you must have. And I'll add two more as they relate more to her. The first one is all about God, your mission, and then her. But now that we're talking about her, you need two things that are unbreakable, that are how do we say, they are deal breakers. This is deal breakers. If these two things that I'm about to share with you aren't established, it's a deal breaker. She must be honest and have respect. Honest and have respect. Let's break that down. Let's unpack that for a moment. In terms of honesty, if she lies to you about small things, she gonna lie to you about big things. If you catch her in small lies or just slight fabrications or embellishments, guarantee you what she's using is what the red pillars call the rationalization hamster. She don't think that she's doing anything wrong when she's lying to you about small things because of that paradigm, because of the way she's thinking. So she's going to carry that mechanism by which she does small dishonest things into big dishonest things. She could very easily go have an affair and have total justification in her mind about why that's right and why she shouldn't tell you. Women rationalize. All of us rationalize, especially today where most men think like women. Most men, when I talk about women and things that are associated primarily with a women's mindset, you got to understand that that's not even only women today. This is why we're talking about biblical masculinity. This is masculinity from 4,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. Today, when we're living in the last days, most men think like women. So a lot of the things that I'm blaming women or I'm saying in regard to women, a lot of us are this way too. And I'm no exception. I've caught myself. I used to be pure beta male. And I think back now and I cringe at some of the justifications I would make for the sins that I was harboring in my life. So it's all of us. But if you catch her just trying to be excused for small things, guarantee, bro, she ain't being honest. She's not being honest about other things. Respect. This is a big one because this is a hot topic in our culture, right? Because we've been taught, if you're anything like me, I grew up in the 1980s in America, and it's worse today than it was in the 1980s. But I remember how it was. Always is this, and this is the advice that we get as little boys, but it's the wrong advice, and I'm gonna show you why. What do you always hear from your parents who are all blue pill, who all are brainwashed by the Marxist culture, right? I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but it's all an ideological subversion to destroy the culture. Your parents and your school teachers and the media, respect women, respect women, respect women, respect women. That mantra in itself is a perversion because it doesn't work that way. Respect goes up. Remember I spoke about how women want a man that they can look up to? Up, because they want to respect. Respect goes this way. That's why in the Bible, in one of the 10 commandments is children respect your parents. It doesn't say parents respect your children. And it doesn't mean that you have a disrespectful attitude or that you're denigrating to that which is below you, because there's a contrast. I'm gonna share that in a moment. But respect always moves up. That mantra, respect women, is a perversion. It's backwards. It's a lie that has caused us to be in the depolarized situation that we are in with women. Women are supposed to respect men. And you know how you earn that respect? Love. Love, have you ever heard that love is like gravity? This is beautiful, man. It's poetic, it's religious, it's scientific, it's amazing. Respect goes up. Love comes down. Love, like gravity, sinks. The same way that a parent loves the child, but the child can't love the parent. Children don't know how to love their parents the same way. They could never love their parents the way that even me as an adult, and my parents are 70 years old, they love me more than I'll ever love them, but I respect them. And as I've grown older, my respect for them has grown even more because I grew up in a culture that teaches you to disrespect your parents, don't respect your parents. So I didn't respect my parents. I didn't want to respect my parents. I respected them because my dad had a heavy hand, but I didn't want to respect them because I live in a culture that teaches children not to respect. The no respect is offered up. Here's another thing too. When we put the children above us as well, and it's all about respect children. Children earn respect, deserve respect. Children don't deserve respect. You do not deserve respect. You deserve my love. I deserve your respect, especially if I carry myself in a frame of pouring out love. It's hard to respect somebody that's above you if they don't love you. But somebody that loves you earns your respect. Right? Think about, like, I used to play football and I had this coach or I had many coaches, and the coaches that loved the team, that loved us as players, and you knew it because they put their heart and soul on the line, and they would cry themselves when we lose. Those coaches gain our greatest respect. The coaches I respect the most were the coaches that love me the most, that love the team the most, that love the mission of winning the most. That's how you know that respect is concomitant with love, and it goes this way. Respect goes up, love comes down. So this is a paradigm that needs to shift, and that's why I'm harping on this a lot more. Do not respect women. It's not about respecting women, it's about loving women. And women need to understand, and you get to demonstrate your love so that you can command respect in the opposite direction. Which brings us to number 5. Finally, because this is really important as it relates to love and respect, because most of us got that backwards, right? We respecting the women and we want them to love us. I don't know. I don't totally understand this. Before I get into number 5, I don't totally understand this, but I get it. Like I assent to it, but I don't totally understand it. But a lot of the red pill guys will say that women will never love a man the way he wants to be loved. And I understand that because a man will love a woman the way she can't love him back. It's funny because even with regard to polarization and sexual polarity, a masculine man is attracted to a vulnerable, doe-eyed, like, I don't want to say helpless, but like a girl that needs to be saved. That's why they say damsel in distress. But these women these days, they don't ever show that kind of vulnerability. So you're dealing with these tattooed sailor whores who, they swear like sailors. They got tattoos and piercings and all over their face, and they drink and they curse and they're not acting vulnerable, they're not acting feminine. But anyway, so with that whole contrast between love and respect, which is so important. The last and final one, which is really important, be assertive and kind. And so this is the way I wrote it out, but there's a phrase that I used to use quite a bit in my YouTube videos back in the day, and that is to be tender aggressive. To be tender aggressive. It's this polarity. And it's like when you get it's just so funny because everything balances itself out like the yin and yang, right? There's a lot of value in understanding just that one little symbol, regardless of, make of it what you will. But there's a lot to be understood there, that if you love a woman and she respects you, your level of respecting her, almost if you notice the yin yang symbol, it's so beautiful. It's, and as a Catholic, maybe I'm not supposed to be talking about that, but I break the rules. I don't know. Lord have mercy on me. Whatever. Right? It's a symbol, and there's a lot of merit and wisdom in the symbol. All black and all white don't exist. I'm starting to get my voice is getting thrown off here. Well, I'm going to let it be what it is. So all black and all white don't exist. Within the black, there's a little bit of white, and within the white, there's a little bit of black. Because as a man, if you demand respect through the love that you give, you get the love through the respect. It's a little bit of both. That's what I'm trying to say. So to be tender aggressive is to have a little bit of both. You can't be totally red pill or blue pill. Let me put it that way in those terms. You got to be purple pill if you're going to make relationships work. This is something that Rollo Tomasi says. He says purple pill. A guy is purple pill. To be red pill, in my opinion, is maybe to be alpha in an imbalanced way where there's no tenderness. But that's not really true alpha. True alpha males have a tenderness to them. Alpha male, in my opinion, is the well-balanced man. But of course, the world makes it seem as if that's all toxic. So to be assertive and to be kind essentially means set up your boundaries, speak your truth, tell them the way it is, but at the same time, be kind. And when it comes to women, this is key for understanding. This is super important for understanding, right? Because a lot of times men, we think we don't understand women because we're not paying attention to them. We're not paying attention to them. We are the way we are as men because we're more firm. That's why they say man is like a rock. A man is firm, and he's generally going to be the way he is for the most part, except for when we're being effeminate. But a woman has cycles. Did you notice this? Women have cycles. They have monthly cycles, and their hormones change based on the time of the month. And there are going to be times in the month that she wants you to be alpha. She wants you to grab her and be strong with her and be aggressive with her. But you try that same attitude when when she's ovulating and she's at that time of the month. You try that same attitude when she's premenstrual and she's going into a different time of the month, and you're going to screw up your relationship because you're going to be off beat. That's when she needs you to be soft. She needs you to be kind. She needs you to listen a little bit more. She's feeling a little bit needy, right? Tender, aggressive. I've done entire videos on this, so I'm going to kind of cut off at that point there. But those are the 5 principles of biblical masculinity. Let me see. I didn't get that one out. Be assertive and kind. Uniformity with God's will. Be mission focused. Know your standards with women. Know your boundaries in relationships. Be assertive and kind. The 5 principles of biblical masculinity. So if you haven't already known, right? I'm coming back to YouTube a little bit. I took a few days off. I had some hiccups lately. My account got hacked. I got my very first strike. I got a YouTube violation strike for a video from like 2 years ago, where I used the CV word. You know what I'm talking about, that magic word you're not supposed to talk about. So I got my first strike, and then because I had to take a break and I was like, man, what am I gonna do moving forward? And I want to just redouble on my mission. I started I really just diving deep into the analytics on my channel. And I realized, based on the charts, that I'm shadow banned. I'm shadow banned here on YouTube. And I know the exact date and the exact video that they started shadow banning me on, because my reach was above 1 million a day for about a year. When I came back to making videos in 2001, for a year, I was getting a reach of over 1 million. Then on September 18th, 2021, it dropped to under 500,000 reach a day. Reach basically means how they're showing your videos for people to watch. And I noticed that my views have dropped significantly. And I'm over here blaming myself. I'm like, man, maybe it's because I'm talking about Jesus too much, right? Blaming you guys. And then I'm blaming God. Maybe because I'm talking about Jesus too much. Maybe because I'm speaking about things that are so countercultural, and I'm telling these guys who, one of the things Dan Kennedy says is, don't be an unwelcome prophet. Don't tell people stuff they don't want to hear. And I'm over here telling you guys, stop fornicating, and living pleasure-seeking lives. But people don't want to hear that stuff. That's like taking candy away from a baby, right? And so I'm like, man, maybe just people will not resonate with my message anymore. And so I'm really just trying to rack my brain for what I'm going to do next. But, I said, forget it. I'm just going to keep doing lives. I'll keep doing lives with you guys right here. And I'm just going to come straight out and be transparent about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it with you guys moving forward, right? I've been dragging my feet on this, but I'll spell it out for you like this. If you don't already know, If you're new here for some reason, you don't recognize that my mission is to make men strong again. When we talk about uniformity with God's will and be mission focused, that's my mission. That's very clear. I was a strong kid. I became a strength coach. I'm a strong man. And I attract men to me that want to be strong. My mission is to make men strong again, not because I chose it, because that's where God placed me in this planet. But to what end, right? So I have to ask myself, like, what is the point of being a strong man, being strong myself and making men strong? Well, I believe that it's up to men to build, to save society, and by building strong families. I believe that it is up to us to turn this boat around. And it's where the future is. And I know, again, this is not a popular message, I understand. But it's with marriage and family. Because with families, our future sons, our future daughters, our children's, the future of our society, right? Our children's children. Those are the people that the values we impart based on the way we live our lives and sacrifice today are going to carry forth dignity for mankind. If we live like these guys are telling us to, which is purely YOLO lifestyle, right? There's those who say, oh, I'm just watching the whole thing burn down and I'm going to enjoy myself along the way. Then you're not only are you not contributing to the generativity that's associated with being a king in your life, not only are you not supporting generativity, supporting life, but you are a anchor. You are a drain on the system because you're out there doing all the things, pissing and shitting all over the place that we're going to have to clean up at some point. Now, I could get into the specifics of it, but you know what I'm talking about. How are you behaving in a pro-life, and I'm not talking about abortion, a pro-life or an anti-life way? Pro-life is generativity. The word generativity comes from to generate. It's where we get the word generation. And it is the quintessential quality of being a king. And when I talk about being a king, I'm not talking about being King Louis VIII or anything like that. I'm literally talking about the mystical king that embodies the being quality in every man. If y'all haven't figured it out, that's what I mean when I talk about king. Because Christ is the only king. But we all have that imago Dei, that image of God within us, that being quality that is what? Order creating. The being quality within us is what is from which order emerges. And order, in order for order to emerge, what does it need? Material. What is material? Material is ideas, sentiments, souls wrapped in flesh and material. To be a king is to be order creating, world building, generative, creating generations, family, folks, fellas. That's the only way we're going to turn this around. If we go with this whole every man for himself BS or MGTOW to death, you're just a useless eater, sucking air and wasting time. But then again, that's just my opinion. I'm being a little arrogant with regard to that. We've fallen so far away, but I am convinced that we could turn this boat around. So I want to share something with you guys. So this is a new program that I'm putting together. And I want to share it with you guys. I think you're going to find this very fascinating and very helpful to you. So this is I call this the GTG for Life Mastermind. This is Get the Girl for Life case study group, which is a mastermind that I'm putting together that focuses exclusively on helping traditional minded men, right? Men with traditional values, maybe Christian, but not mandatory. Helping these kinds of men find and keep a loyal girl for life. This mastermind is going to help you be the kind of man that excites the attention and admiration of virtuous women, right? This is how it's going to work. If we're going to make this work, you got to excite the attention and admiration but of virtuous women. We're going to talk a little about that. There's a lot of so-called red pill guys out there, right, that believe that there are zero wife-worthy women today. But that's having a total lack mentality, in my opinion. The fact is that there are as many good, virtuous women out there still today that are looking for real love as there are good men looking for virtuous women. The problem is that we're looking in the wrong places, fellas, and we're looking through the wrong lenses. When it comes to creating happy, healthy relationships, we need a totally different paradigm, and this is what it's about. So we're going to be using social media. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach you how to use social media to select, qualify, and innocently approach women that you would find as potential wife-worthy material. So this is where I'll be consulting and bringing in experts, right? Because this is not my area of expertise. But I'm going to bring in some experts who literally make a living teaching guys how to meet women through social media without being creepy or like a thirsty simp spamming the DMs, right? There's an effective way to meet women online, and I've been learning about it through consulting with these guys, and they've been getting incredible results. And there's a way to approach that guarantees zero rejection. It's pretty amazing. It's the way you carry yourself. So the next thing, if you're following my bullet points, we're on number 4. A big part of this mastermind is community and accountability. So everyone inside this group is aligned towards the same goal. Long-term relationships, marriage, family, and eternal happiness. And if this is you, then you're in the right place. If you're just looking to hook up, be a professional pumper and dumper, then this is not the place for you. This mastermind will be run by me, Elliot Hulse, 100%, especially as we get going. So especially for this first case study that I'm putting together, you'll be dealing with me exclusively every step of the way. The next bullet point, our focus is on implementation and collaboration, not long, boring content. If you're just wanting to consume motivational and instructional videos and do nothing, then this is not the place for you. I'm only going to give you the most important steps and assignments, and then it's up to you to take action. The last bullet point says that it's going to feel like you're hanging out with some friends. That's really the whole point, is building a community. But we're going after real results with women. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to build lifelong bonds with the guys in your squad. And I can imagine you'll be attending each other's weddings and stuff like that in the future. I think it's going to be amazing. So moving on, here's how it works. If you're just following me, we're on the instructions. And I realize my voice, I'm having like a lag right now. So hopefully you guys are following me anyway. Week number 1, we're going to be focused on mission, goals, and God's plan for your life. This is all about getting clear on the big why so that you have the confidence to take positive action throughout the program. There will be assignments and assessments for you to complete here. Week number 2, embodied masculinity and female attraction. This is all about being the kind of man that every woman is not only wildly attracted to, not every woman, but the one that you want, but receives admiration and loyalty from her for life. That's really important. Week number 3, we're going to be talking about exciting sexual polarity through traditional gender roles. This is about teaching you about setting the stage and embodying the masculine frame so that your woman never loses respect for you in the relationship. Number 4, week number 4, we're going to talk about selecting, qualifying, and approaching women. This is mainly through social media, but also in real life. This is about what to look for, where to find, and how to qualify women that you want to approach, as well as how to approach in the most low friction way possible. We'll be focusing mainly on using social media, but this is 100% translatable into real life also. So it's all about how you carry yourself. Week number 5, deep vetting and deliberate dating. This is where you find a woman, finally, right? You find that woman and you're going on dates and you guys really like each other. but you need more work in terms of discovering if she's really wife worthy, right? So this is about deep vetting, really looking at the various things I spoke about earlier in our talk in terms of the qualities that you're looking for, not just an F buddy or a girl to have a good time with, or you guys share the same hobbies, or she's really, really, really hot, but whether or not she's wife material, a wife-worthy woman. That's super important. Week number 7, being the leader she needs and desires. Too many men are hot off the starting blocks in their relationships. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but rather quickly they lose steam and revert to old beta male behaviors. And this lesson is all about maintaining your frame and never falling into effeminacy again, right? We don't want to fall off once we've made our way. Week number 8, maintaining attraction, hot monogamy for life. Most of you guys have heard that over 60% of divorces are initiated by women. So it's easy to blame women. But the fact is that even the best looking, wealthiest men fail to maintain attraction in their relationships, thus losing the fire of desire with their women. But there's a simple way to avoid this if you know what to do. Okay, just moving along. I realize I got a lag, so it's distracting me. We're building a community. We got a workplace community app to collaborate with other members. We'll have live weekly lessons multiple times a week. We got hot seats. We're going to do check-ins and mindset calls. The reason why this is called a mastermind is because it's not just going to be old Uncle E sitting on his pedestal telling y'all what is going on and what it's all about. It's about collaboration. That's why I'm bringing in experts that are better at some of these things that I am, right? That are more in tune with what's going on in the dating world today. So you're not only going to hear from me, but you're also going to hear from one another, right? Because we got to hold each other accountable. This is like building a brotherhood. And like I said, man, I want to build a community of men that are all like-minded in terms of marriage and family. I want to be with you guys that when you are getting married, when you're having children, I want to be there when I want to be at your 50th wedding anniversary, because I truly believe that it is these kind of relationships, and this is the direction we need to go in order to turn this boat around. So let me wrap up. How to join this mastermind, the GTG, Get the Girl Case Study Mastermind. It's a case study because it's the first one that I'm doing. And so it's a little bit different in terms of how it's going to be when I roll it out later. But this is our first shot at it. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to gtgforlife.com, and there's a $99 application fee, because the worst thing that could happen to me is 1,000 of you guys fill out an application and you're not qualified. I would hate that, right? And I think I wouldn't want to waste your time either. So when you go to GTG for Life, it's going to take you to this page right here. There's a $99 application fee. You complete the application. It's a fully refundable. So that means if you aren't selected, or it just turns out that you're not a good fit, or I'm not a good fit for you in the program, your $99 will be refunded. After you complete your application, you'll hear from us within about 72 hours. I'm limiting it to 24 men because I really want to be able to focus in on the guys that are in the program. And it's going to sell out fast. What's going to happen is once you fill out that form, you pay the $99 fee, you're going to get a form like this, and you're going to fill this out. And I'm going to get the results of this, and that way I'll have your email address. And I'm personally setting up calls with you guys. So I'm going to read your application, reach out to you personally, and personally speak with you on the phone to see if it's a good fit for you, if it's a good fit for me, if it's a good fit for all of us. So if you have any questions or concerns with regard to that, you can email me at coaching@elliothulst.com, and I'll answer any questions that you have. But go over to the website. Even if you're not really sure just yet, go to GTG for Life, have the page open. I'm going to update the page with how many people have signed up. That way you guys, there's some urgency, so you know that if any slots are left. I let my insider King Transformation coaching members know about this earlier today. So expecting some signups from those guys here pretty soon. But there's only 24 spots. I'd love to have you. It's going to be freaking awesome. It's going to be amazing. This is the way forward, men. This is going to revolutionize your life. It's going to change the world. And it's going to be amazing for you to have a wife-worthy woman in your life, because I know that's what you want, right? What value is there in building your frame, building your life, making a lot of money, and you don't have anybody to share it with? Hooking up gets tired. And a part of the reason why I know that this program is of value is I got a lot of friends who've been hookup kings all throughout their 20s. And by the time they get to 27, 28, 29 years old, even guys who can have sex with lots of women, they're like, this is just unfulfilling. There's no value in this anymore. But I don't know how to switch gears into not just finding a woman that I'm attracted to, but finding a woman that's wife worthy. And that's what this is all about, because we're making men strong again. We're making women feminine again, and we're making families great again. So that's it, guys. That's my end of that. I'm gonna stick around just for another 5-10 minutes if there's any questions in the chats or any super chats that are still up. But that's the end of my presentation, which I hope you guys enjoyed, and my offer for joining my new group. I hope to see you guys in there. So look at that. My voice is back to normal. When I do my pitch, my offer, my voice gets all screwed up. How was it though? Could you guys let me know if it was if I was lagging the whole time? To me, it looked like it was pretty close most of the time. I got to figure out why this is, and I got to figure out how to fix it. But Regina Hare, thank you for the super chat, Regina. Much appreciated. Regina says, appreciate your content. Thank you for speaking the truth. I agree we need a different approach on how we find someone, because what we're doing today is not working. You know, it's not working, and it's working less and less. My call to action is a return to tradition. That's really what it is. And I know I sound like a boomer a lot of times. And a lot of people listen to me and they're like, oh, Elliot's out of touch. But you got to understand that what we're doing is not working. So what do we have to do? We have to do what we did before we got into the mess that we're in. And I'm lucky enough, I'm blessed enough to come from a traditional family. I wish I could sit up here and say, oh, I made all these mistakes, and because as a result of going the wrong way, I discovered the right way and I want to teach you guys. That didn't happen for me. And I got to be completely transparent. My life has been great. My wife is great. My parents are great, but that's why I know it can work. I grew up in a family with a rightly ordered home. And so me and my wife embodied what we saw my parents do. And as a result, it works for us, and I want to show you. So, but this is nothing new. It's about returning to tradition. I lost the super chat. Where are we? Everything is just acting weird for me, man. Let's see. Went away. Okay. I have one here from Masick. Elliot, can you do something similar for women? You have female listeners who want to find like-minded men. So I got to start with men first, because that's where I'm at. And of course, because I believe that men are the leaders. And so men have to go first. We got to get our act together first. We got into this mess because men started following women. And the reason why men started following women is because women were granted the graces of our Lord God, the government, to start fornicating through legalized contraception, divorce, abortion, all these things that we take for granted, and people think that they're rights, right? I have a right to contracept. I have a right to divorce whenever I feel like it. I have a right to abort my baby. We're not realizing that that's the very reason why relationships aren't working. And all those were things that were granted to women. So those all gave women power over men. And so, you know, it's not about denigrating women, but it's showing how things have been turned upside down as a result of this quote unquote sexual revolution. And so men have to weaponize chastity is the thing that I say. We got to weaponize chastity. So anyway, that's neither here nor there with regard to your question. If all goes well with what I'm putting together, I can imagine putting together a matchmaking service And I think maybe the part of the way to do that was to get my wife involved. And she and I have been thinking about doing some like marriage events. Maybe we'll do a marriage program together. Maybe we'll do a live stream together. Her and I interview from the 22 convention is going to be up on YouTube here pretty soon. So that's all going to be available to you. But yeah, women, we need help with both. But anyway, thank you, Masick. Retro Neon. I consider you one of my mentors and need advice. By the way, guys, are you getting a lag from me? It looks like it's lagging for me. Just somebody put it in the chat. I want to know if it's lagging for you guys, because it's definitely lagging for me. Okay. All right. Maybe it's so lagged that you guys haven't even heard me say it. Okay, Retro Neon. I met a woman today, and she's in pro wrestling and has a following. She's kind, feminine, but she dresses a little freely. Is she worth it? I don't think so. A woman who's in pro wrestling, I don't want to judge someone I don't know, but by virtue of the type of work that she's in, she's an entertainer. People say that maybe I have fragile masculinity. Maybe Elliot has fragile masculinity, and maybe I can't handle a strong woman, right? That's so stupid, but that's what people will say. But my preference is for a woman who's not on the stage. I don't want my woman to be the one that is entertaining other men. I don't want my woman to be out in front wearing, flashy clothing and being boisterous and jumping around and wrapping her legs around people on a stage. I wouldn't be comfortable with that. Does that mean I'm a weak man? Maybe. But I will much rather my woman wearing a big, nice, flowy dress. My wife knows I like when she wears nice, long, flowy dresses. And she's not speaking loud and cursing and being a tough girl on the scene. These women are not very feminine, right? Think about a pro wrestler. And she has a following too. I mean, she has fans. That means she has simps. I have no doubt in my heart about my relationship with my wife, but I would be a little annoyed if she was constantly being approached by simps that are fans of her. I just wouldn't like it. So I don't know. Everybody has their own preference. For me, I wouldn't want that. That's not what I would value in a woman. I don't value that kind of attention. That's not good attention, right? That's not the right kind of attention. Okay. Aaron Ortiz. I lost my path in life and I want to be strong alpha. Where do I start? What discipline should I pursue? Watch this presentation from the start, bro. 5 principles of biblical masculinity. You start with principle number 1. Principle number 2. You work through those principles as I taught them to you today. You're going to get back on track. The problem is most of us try to solve the problem at the level at which the problem was created. And the problem is usually created by our own willfulness. And our willfulness is usually what leads us down these wrong rabbit holes. So when you say that I fell off, here's another thing too. I understand that we live in a time and we live in a world where it's all about self-reliance. But I've discovered that I'm not strong enough in many regards to do my own will because I fall short. So my advice to you is, as is demonstrated in principle number 1, submit to uniformity with God's will. You say you lost your path. I'm not so sure sometimes. Because maybe that wasn't your path and there's a reason why you're kicked off of it. What is God's will demonstrating for you right now? If you're off that path, there may be a reason why. You say that maybe I should be disciplined to get back on it. But that's either, look, you got to ask yourself this question. You're either being committed and disciplined or stubborn. Which one is it? Right? Sometimes we think that, I'm being committed by going against the grain, trying to swim uphill in order to do this thing that's just not working out, but I won't ever give up. Well, sometimes you got to step back and you ask yourself, well, maybe that's the reason, maybe those are all reasons why you shouldn't be doing it. Because God doesn't make your life miserable for the sake of making it miserable. He does it because it is a means for your salvation. And so that means could be a number of things. It could literally be, and that's why I can't answer this question for you. It could literally be, you're weak, you're not committed, and you have too much effeminate attitude. So I need to challenge you to toughen up so that you can get through this. That could literally be it. But it could also be, you're way too stubborn, you're way too willful. You think you know what is right for you, so I'm going to beat you up along the way so that you can't get to where you want to go. So that you'll shut up and listen to me and do what I want you to do. So it could be one of those two things, Aaron. I don't know which one, but I invite you to discern, to pay attention, and try to decide which of those two things it might be. So anyway, it's getting close to time. I have to go because at 4 p.m. I meet with my King Transformation students. I do a live call with my students in any program that I'm in. So if you fill out the GTG for Life application and you make it into my Mastermind program, you're going to get to do live Q&As. You get to do live office hours with old Uncle E also. But I do that every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. So I'm going to cut off, give me 10 minutes to go grab a snack and hop back on with my guys. Listen, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. GTGforlife.com. If the things I spoke about today ring true for you and you want to get that girl for life and keep her for life, and you want my help doing it with all the wisdom that I have from 20 years of marriage and watching my parents and the experts that I'm going to bring in that are going to teach you how to get out of your comfort zone and to meet worthy women that you can vet for long-term relationships, it can't hurt. Fill out the application. It's a $99 refundable application fee. And it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait to see you guys there. We'll hop back on and do a live stream again next week. That's it. That's all. Done.